The following is the Ministry of Education's press conference on the 2021 National Examination results. Good morning. To our Honorable Minister of Education, Jeffrey Lloyd, Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Lorraine Ambrista, Undersecretary, Ms. Aretha Clark, Mrs. Evelyn Sawyer, Assistant Director of Education with responsibility for examinations and assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Denise Pratt of the Ministry of Education's Communications section. Welcome to a press conference to announce the official results of our 2021 national examinations. Since the onset of COVID-19, schools across the world have had cancellations of their national exams. Here in the Bahamas, despite the challenges of COVID-19, the Ministry of Education is pleased to announce that the Bahamas Junior Certificate, BJC exams, and the Bahamas General Certificate of Secondary Education exams, or BGCSE examinations, were once again successfully administered. At this time, I would like to invite to the podium our Undersecretary, Ms. Aretha Clark, to bring remarks.
A very pleasant good morning to all. Assessment is a very critical component in the learning process. The development of the national examinations in the Bahamas began in the early 1950s with the introduction of the Bahamas Junior Certificate examinations. In 1993, the Bahamas General Certificate of Secondary Education examinations replaced the ordinary level General Certificate examinations, or O-level GCE. Both the BJC and the BGCSE examinations are designed to cater to 80 to 85% of the students in grades 9 and 12, respectively. Despite working under much restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the staff of the Examination and Assessment Division have worked tirelessly in conjunction with our partners, Cambridge International Education, to ensure that the standards of achievement represented by grades A through G in the 2021 BGCSE are equivalent to those represented by the corresponding grades in the International General Certificate of Secondary Education, or IGCSE examinations, and the General Certificate of Education, GCE O-level examinations. Please note that there are two measures that need to be met to be able to claim equivalence with a Cambridge International qualification. And they are: 1, technical quality. That is, the assessments must produce judgments of performance of the candidates that are reliable, fair, and a valid assessment of the syllabus or program of study. 2, assessment standards. Assessments need to be equally as difficult. This includes the content standard of the syllabus, the demand and marking standards of the assessments, and the awarding standard present in the level of performance of the candidates. Today, I am pleased to report that Cambridge International Education has again this year issued a statement confirming that the BGCSE examinations were administered, marked, and graded in an appropriate manner and are in keeping with international standards. While Cambridge has no involvement with the development and administration of the BJC examinations, I can confirm that the same stringent measures used in the development and administration of the BGCSE examinations are adhered to for the BJC exams. I wish to commend ADE Mrs. Evelyn Sawyer and the officers of the Examination and Assessment Division, as well as examiners, invigilators, parents, students, and all who had to undergo the exams during these very, very trying times. Congratulations to all, and a pleasant good morning to you.
Thank you, Undersecretary Clark, for your remarks. I would now like to invite our Director of Education, Mr. Marcellus Taylor, to address us.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pratt, the Minister of Education, Permanent Secretary, other senior colleagues here at the Ministry of Education, media, and of course the Bahamian public, good morning. As an education system, it is our responsibility to ensure that the right, that basic human right of all to receive a quality education is enacted. COVID-19, of course, has brought some obstacles that we are faced with every day and for the last 18 or so months. But I could attest and assure you that we are resolved to ensure that we continue to create educational opportunities for our students all across the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Whether they're in public schools, private schools, family island schools, or New Providence-based schools, our job is to ensure that we can and will provide quality education to our students. And that quality education is important because it empowers the individual, enables the individual to be able to take care of themselves, but also to contribute to national development. And one of the markers in school career and on that path of self-actualization are these results, are these examinations, are these credentials that the students attain. And while there are some who, for whatever reason, don't take full advantage of the opportunities, there are many who do. There are many who do not allow the COVID-19 to stop them. There are many who push forward without regard to their difficult circumstances. And while we want all of our students to do well, we know that this undertaking can be difficult at times. That is why we encourage everyone to support our students, to back our students, to help our students to know that they can be successful. And during COVID-19, there were many students who were, for whatever reason, discouraged from participating. But I am very happy to note that we can say, because we have pushed forward with providing them with opportunities, many students have had success. One of the standards that we look at to see how students have succeeded was how many students at the BGCSE level received 5 BGCSEs with a minimum grade of D. And over the COVID period, about 1,500 such students met that standard. So I'm sure that for each and every one of those 1,500 students, they are eternally grateful for the fact that we forged ahead with having these national exams. And so on their behalf, I'd like to thank all the teachers, school administrators, and parents who supported them, people in the public who supported them. I'd also like to thank Ms. Sawyer and her team at the Examination and Assessment Division, who worked many hours under not ideal circumstances to ensure that the exams were not only administered appropriately, but that they were assessed appropriately and in a very timely manner. And I'd like to thank my senior colleagues at Ministry of Education for ensuring that our education system does what it's supposed to do, that is to provide educational opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director, for your remarks. We will now hear from our Minister of Education, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, to give us a comprehensive overview of the results of our 2021 national examinations. Minister Lloyd?
Good morning, and thank you, Ms. Pratt. I want to extend a special welcome to our executive team led by our Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Ambrista, and our Director, Mr. Taylor. Thanks to Ms. Rita Clark, Undersecretary, Ms. Poitier, Deputy Director of Curriculum. And happy to have Mr. Anderson, Deputy Director with responsibilities for technology and schools management, and our team leader in Examinations and Assessment Division, Ms. Sawyer and her team. And I want to say a special welcome to our Bahamians who are listening this morning to our presentation. And I begin by saying a heartfelt thank you for the great work that we do here at the Ministry of Education, in particular, this examination exercise that is conducted every single year. Of course, we know that in the past 2 years, we have now navigated, negotiated quite a challenging experience. And it's very, very heartwarming to see the results that our students, supported by their parents and their teachers, administrators, and educators, family, friends, have performed and achieved. And it's commendable, the work that we do here, and I am grateful to be the part of the team that is continuing to forge through very unprecedented, unique, and at times, as the director indicated, challenging circumstances. So let me begin by offering my thanks and congratulations for the outstanding work that is being done, for the tremendous achievement of our students, and for the continuing support they receive from our educators and their parents. Today, as you heard, we are here to announce the results of our 2021 national exams. And as I indicated, the exams this year, like the 2020 exams, were administered in unique, new, challenging, difficult circumstances. Because this COVID-19 pandemic has ushered in an unprecedented tide of online learning. It has been coupled with health prescriptions, commonly identified as social distancing and washing, and maintaining an environment of safety and wellness. And these have all led, consequently, to diminishing our capacity to fully embrace the advantages of in-person instructions. This year, the exams were held in time to allow us to release the results in the usual time, which is the month of August. And this was very important because there are many students who depend on these results, in the BGCSE particularly, to gain entrance into universities globally. And it also is a very important marker for them who may seek employment in the marketplace. The fact that we were able to continue with our examinations is significant because it underscores the fact that we have not compromised on the quality that our University of Cambridge certified examinations possess, and BGCSEs in particular. I consider it a critical accomplishment because we are aware that in some developed countries, COVID-19 presented difficulties in administering national exams. And the fact that we navigated through the multiplicity of restrictions and limitations in our instructional processes while still preparing our students to write these papers at over 100 centers throughout the islands is indeed an achievement, a stellar, significant, signature achievement, I must say. And this fact was even more critical for those students who for the second consecutive year had to deal with the physical and the emotional disruption brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm again very proud and congratulate each and every one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, 2021, marks the 28th sitting of the BJC exams, the Bahamas Junior Certificate Examinations, since it was reintroduced in the year 1994. 9,552 candidates sat these exams. And they did so at 110 centers. 49 were government schools, 61 were independent. And this year, the BJC covered some 13 subjects. There were 34,584 grades awarded compared to 31,970 in 2020, That's an 8.2 increase. This year, as usual, mathematics and English language are the two most subscribed subjects. English language had 6,204 candidates, and that was a 10.49 increase over last year's 5,615 candidates. In mathematics, there were 6,994 candidates who sat the exams, and this compared to 6,277 in 2020. That represented an 11.42 increase. And again, maths and English are our key subjects. They are the ones that are most subscribed. And naturally, we are pleased to witness this increase in the number of our students who sit these two crucial exams. I'm also proud to say that we witnessed an increase in candidates who sat several subjects: general science, religious studies, family and consumer science, social studies, literature, and French during this period. Again, there was an increase when compared to the previous year. I'm sure it would be no surprise for me to announce that in 2021, our female candidates, again, have outperformed our male candidates in both exams, BJC and BGCSE. But nevertheless, we are pleased to report that of the 9,552 BJC candidates, 1,164 of them received a grade of C or higher in 5 or more subject areas. Let me say that again. Of the 9,552 BJC candidates, 1,164 of them received a grade of C or higher in 5 or more subjects. And this represents an astounding 12.19% increase, 12.19% of the overall candidature, and 7.48% increase when compared to last year. Last year, it only had 1,083 candidates who obtained this distinction. This year, 1,630 candidates achieved a grade of D or above in at least 5 subjects. That represents 17.6% of the overall candidature and a 1.62 increase compared to last year's 1,604 candidates who again achieved this distinction. Now let me turn to the administration of the BGCSE exams. This year there were 27 subjects. This resulted in 17,874 grades being awarded. This number, 17,874, represents an increase of 18.919% when compared to 2020, which had a total of only 15,123 grades. 5,159 candidates sat the BGC exams at 96 centers throughout the country. And 40 centers, government schools, 56 centers, were independently administered. English language and biology, mathematics, and religious studies continue to remain the subjects of choice for the vast majority of our students. Art and design, Scheme C, auto mechanics, and clothing construction remain the least subscribed of those subjects. Now, of the 27 subjects tested, 24 saw an increase in the number of candidates being awarded a grade. Additionally, there was a significant increase in the number of candidates receiving grades between A and C. This year, 1,804, or 10.09% of the 17,874 grades given during the 2021 BGCSE sitting were A's. Hold on a minute. Let me say it again. This year, 1,804, or 10.09% of the 17,000 plus grades given during this year's exam, BGCSE exam, were A's. A's. Of course, this is commendable. And we believe that this is a positive trajectory, that we are excited to see our students proceed. Overall, 50.44% of the grades awarded were to candidates earning A through C. And additionally, this year, a total of 550 candidates received at least a C grade or above in 5 or more subjects. Again, this is 10.66% of the overall 5,159 candidates and a 50.68% increase when compared to last year's 365 candidates who achieved the grade C or above in 5 or more subjects. In this year, 2021, a total of 875 candidates obtained a grade of D or above in at least 5 subjects. This represents 16.96% of the overall candidature and a 46.32% increase when compared to last year's 598 candidates who received a grade of D or above in at least 5 subjects. My fellow Bahamians, despite the COVID-19 challenges on our instructional delivery, this ministry has taken the stance that it would not take the route of some countries who replaced their exams with school-allocated grades. Many felt that that route would have led to results that could possibly prove inequitable and thus not a true reflection of our students' capabilities. We believe then, and we still do now, that the best way to ensure a fair and equitable assessment would be to continue with a national standardized examination. And so I commend the officers of the Ministry of Education's Examination and Assessment Division, who after administering the 2020 national exams immediately got to work ensuring that the blueprint was put in place to ensure that the 2021 national exams could be held. Also, prior to the scheduling of the 2021 national exams, various stakeholders were consulted to ensure the success of these examinations. Input was sought and received from the following bodies: BAISS, that's the Bahamas Association of Independent Secondary Schools, the Bahamas Union of Teachers, the Bahamas Educators and Managerial Union, and the National Advisory Council for Education. We believe that this consultation further assisted in facilitating the efficient administration of these exams throughout the Bahamas. I want to say that our educators and students are starting the 2021-2022 academic year virtually, as many of you know. It began today. The Ministry of Education looks forward to the day when we are and will be able to transition out of this COVID-19 pandemic. We can't wait, trust me. However, we recognize that even after COVID-19 has been defeated, there will still be vestiges of it left behind. Virtual instructional delivery has now become a part of our new normal. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Online learning is here to stay. As we begin our 2021-2022 academic year, our task is to ensure that all of our students are fully prepared to thrive in this remote environment and that no child is disadvantaged. We believe that our transition out of this pandemic will provide us with the means to more effectively deliver instruction and, by extension, increase our high school graduation rate. This is a goal of ours by 2030 for it to reach a minimum of 85%. It is imperative, therefore, that all of us, educators, support staff, parents, students, members of civil society, continue to adhere to health and safety protocols as we work together to continue the mantra in our ministry, which is, quote, safety first, education always, end quote. I want to encourage our students. I want to encourage them to remain committed to their preparations for these examinations and the year ahead. Despite the current temporal challenges brought on by this pandemic, please remember that the ability remains within you to thrive and to achieve great success. Thank you very much. God bless you, and good morning.
Thank you, Minister Lloyd, for your remarks. Before we continue, I am pleased to report that we also have with us today two of our senior executives. We have Mr. Julian Anderson, who is our Deputy Director for Schools Management and Technology, along with Ms. Sharon Poitier, who's our Deputy Director of Curriculum Development and Instruction. Now, I would like to invite the members of the press to ask their questions. Each media house will be afforded 2 questions. The questions will be delivered in 2 rounds. The first question in your first round, and the second question you will be able to ask in the second round. We will take our first question from Mrs. Adley at ZNS. Ms. Adley?
Yes, good morning. I wanted to ask the minister what he attributes the increased rate in passes to, and if some of those applicants may have been persons who, for some reason or the other, chose to sit the examinations again, considering some of the difficulties that we were faced with last year.
Well, thank you very much. I'll ask the director to share his thoughts on that question, and I want to thank you very much for asking it, and congratulations for the great work that you do. You know, we better stop selling our Bahamian students short. We are phenomenally gifted people, and our students continue to demonstrate this. Last year, of the 27 subjects in the BGCSE exams, 15 of them showed an increase in performance. It was not highlighted in the media. What was highlighted is some comment that you consider to be salacious and representative of the great work that we do here. And our exams results this year demonstrate the capacity of our children and the support that they receive from our educators, from this great team here at the Ministry of Education, from their parents and the regular society. I attribute it to the great talent that they already have, the willingness to apply themselves, the outstanding resilience that they continue to exhibit. We see this and saw this during the period of Dorian, when we had to evacuate essentially students out of Abaco and Grand Bahama, and we found places here in New Providence and other parts of the islands, and they did extremely well. And so I congratulate them. I'm proud of them for what they demonstrate. Remember now, Ms. Adderley, there were many who told us to cancel the exams. Cancel it, they said. That we are putting our students at a disadvantage, that we are being unfair to them. And our students proved otherwise. So what do I attribute it to? Their great magnificence, their inner splendor, the value that they bring to the work that they have and they do, and that they continue to do under the guidance of our team, their administrators, their executives, teachers, their parents and support staff. And I'd like the director to share thoughts on maybe some students who are sitting a second time or further. Thank you.
In regard to the observation or the suggestion that some students may have sat the exam again, that's quite likely, but that's a thing that happens every year. We have students who, from time, if they wrote an exam and they don't feel confident or comfortable about the grade they receive, they take it again, and that's one of the things that is permitted in our system. As a lot of you would know, there are also some students who sit exams in the year earlier. Like, for instance, someone might sit a BGCSE in grade 11. In part, they do that to be in a position to retake the exam if the results are not what they wish. Last sitting, we also had this situation where the exams were delayed, and because they were delayed, some students may not have been able to continue with the exams when they restarted in September. This last sitting, we didn't have that. And that was one of the reasons why, from the very beginning, we tried to maintain, as best as we could, having the exams, but also having them at the scheduled time. because the cycle is a tight cycle and it works in a particular way. And anytime you come off the cycle, you run the risk of some people falling off in some way. But I think this year, because we had that more normalized cycle, that worked in the favor of the students. And then the final point that I will raise is that although in New Providence, we spent perhaps the first term and a bit in the virtual modality, we had students in Grand Bahama, students in Long Island, students in many other islands of the country who were engaged in face-to-face instruction. And so I think because we are now 18 months into COVID-19 era, people are adjusting, people are adapting, people are learning how to live with COVID-19 in the education sector. And so whether that is realizing that we are serious when we say that exams will happen, and people are realizing that they have to prepare, teachers and others going the extra mile, the Department of Education providing extra support in terms of extra tuition classes and content on the LMS, et cetera, that this additional effort was there to ensure that our students had the best opportunity to perform as well as they could.
Thank you, Director. And thank you, Ms. Adley. We'll take our second question from Mr. Joaquin at Our News. Sir, your question?
Hi, good morning. Well, today is the first day of school virtual learning. I just want to know, has the ministry gotten any update from all of the schools? I understand there's obviously some technical glitches. Has the ministry been alerted as to any issues, any problems with the online learning platform?
Well, I do believe that's a director's question for the director, sir. Okay.
Yes, today is the first day of school, and we are returning in the virtual modality. We have our LMS and our EMIS systems functioning quite well to what we know. I have not been advised of any glitches, and I have spoken to my colleagues who are dealing with that directly up to 9:30. So we are confident that things are going quite well. I'm not particularly sure if you're referring to something specifically, but at this point, as far as we know, things are going well.
Thank you, Director. Our next question will come from Ms. Brown at Eyewitness News. Ms. Brown?
Good morning. What would you say, I guess this would be for the director or the minister, but what would you say to those who attribute the successes in this year's BJC and BGCSE results to the possibility of marking on a different curve because of COVID-19?
That sounds like a question really for Ms. Clark, dealing with the credibility of the exam. It sounds like you're speaking to. Ms. Clark?
Good morning, and thank you for your question. I can confirm that this year the exam marking was no different from what we have been doing in previous years. I did indicate earlier that the University of Cambridge International Examinations sent to us a statement confirming that the integrity of the examination has been reposed and that the marking, the administration of the exams, all were monitored by Cambridge, and there was no change in the marking system for this year's exam when compared to 1993, 2020, or 2019 examinations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Clark. Next question will come from the Tribune, Ms. Roll.
Hi, Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I know it was estimated sometime earlier this year that some 20 to 40% of students suffered learning loss as a result of the pandemic. And I know that there was some summer program held to specifically assist those students. But I want to know if there are any other similar initiatives planned specifically for this year to help those students who would have suffered learning loss as they prepare for next year's examination so we can see even better results for next year.
Okay, I'm going to ask Ms. Poitier, our Deputy Director, to address this question. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for your question. Yes, we did have the extended learning academies during the summer, and certainly during this year, we are preparing our teachers, we are preparing our students for what we would consider additional remediation. And so all during this school year, you will see that there would be strategies in place. Teachers are preparing students to remediate. And so we are aware of the learning loss and we have strategies to remediate our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poitier. Now, it is my understanding that Ms. Simonet at JCN is having a bit of technical difficulties, so she has passed her questions on to Mr. Lightbourne from the Blaze FM in Exuma. So Mr. Lightbourne has kindly agreed to ask questions on her behalf and on behalf of the Blaze FM. So Mr. Lightbourne will have 2 questions in each round. Mr. Lightbourne, your first question, sir.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. So my first question is, I'm curious to know if the ministry compiles data for the national exam results based on region. I'd very much be interested in hearing how persons in the Exumas and the Keys did, or if not, if you can direct me to a resource.
Okay, I'm going to send this question over to Ms. Sawyer. She's in charge of examinations and assessment. Ms. Sawyer?
Good morning, and thank you for your question. Yes, when we prepare the results, they are prepared in regions, and the information is provided to district superintendents in each area so they know what they need to work on or what their schools need to work on each year.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Lightbourne, your second question, sir.
Thank you. So this question is from Ms. Tyler Simonet from JCN, and she writes, we understand that independent schools had to seek permission for face-to-face learning. Do education officials have those figures as the amount of schools that have applied and the amount that have received permissions for the face-to-face learning?
Okay, we're going to pass that on to our permanent secretary, Mrs. Lorene Ambrista.
Good morning. Yes, the emergency order in place does require private schools to obtain approval from the Ministry of Education to engage in face-to-face instructions. Following collaboration with the Ministry of Health, it was determined that any private school which wished to engage in face-to-face instructions should engage in those only at a rate of 50%. A number of schools have come forward and have asked to engage in face-to-face instructions, and we have extended the conditional approvals given for the last school year to allow them to go at 50% while we review their COVID-19 mitigation plans for the current school year. I also wish to state, however, that a number of schools, private schools, have followed the example of the Ministry of Education and have made the decision to go virtual. A number of prominent school systems have made the decision because of the COVID-19 infection rate to follow the example of the Ministry of Health, follow the example of the Ministry of Education to go virtual. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Ms. Ambrista. Our next question will be from Ms. Smith at Eyewitness Digital. Ms. Smith?
Hi, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, my question is whether or not how officials have been able to identify the number of students who have not been able to log into those into the education system at all, and how are they being addressed? Those students who may have fallen through the cracks. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to address this question to Mr. Anderson, who's in charge of technology at the Ministry of Education.
Thank you for your question. For those students who were not able to be logged on, we would have supplied a number of students, marginalized students, students in the South Central Bahamas with Wi-Fi devices, and those devices would have been turned on today to allow them to gain access to our platforms. Thank you.
Just to add to Mr. Anderson's response, there are some students who may not be logging on because of things like, in addition to the internet connectivity that Mr. Anderson talked about, because some of them don't remember their passwords. So we have something set up so that if students have forgotten their password, they can contact their school, and the school-based systems administrator can reset their password for them. So any student who is out there trying to get on, doesn't remember their password, they must contact their school, and their school-based systems administrator will reset so that they can enter a new password.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson and Director Taylor. Ms. Scott from the Nassau Guardian, you have the last question.
Good morning. I wanted to know if there are any clear trends on the performance and participation in national exams of those students who had more face-to-face learning, for example, students in the Family Islands, compared to those who had to do more virtual learning over the past school year. Are there any clear trends on how students performed based on the learning model that they had?
I'm going to direct this question to Ms. Clark and perhaps Ms. Sawyer as a backup. It sounds like you're asking about the trends and the statistics. Excuse me.
Good morning again, and thank you for your question. The exam results are just being officially released today, and so therefore we have not completed all of our analysis of the examination results. But I would like to think that you would have been able to listen to the students from the District of Grand Bahama, where there would have been some face-to-face as well as virtual mode being done in that area. And those students in Grand Bahama, I am pleased to say, performed very well this year. Their performance was so much better than it was last year that there was much commendation being given to them over the airwaves from Grand Bahama. We are still working, and therefore, as we complete the analysis, we will share it with the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Scott, you can ask your second question. We're beginning the second round.
Okay, thank you. I know that the minister noted that there was increased performance in the examinations this year compared to last year, but what was the performance like compared to previous years before the participation, sorry, compared to previous years before COVID?
That's Ms. Sawyer from the Examinations and Assessment Department, ma'am.
The results for the 2021 examinations were very similar to those of the 2019 examinations.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Now we have Ms. Smith from Eyewitness Digital. Your second question, please.
Hi, good morning. My second question, just a follow-up to my first, whether or not there are any numbers on how many of those students might have been impacted in terms of who have not been able to access the digital platform either.
I'm sorry, Director, would you like to address
Like
this?
a figure, maybe 100, 200, 15, 10, any ideas?
No, we don't have that number. If you realize that there are any number of reasons why students may not be connecting. Some may have woken up and decided, I ain't going to school today, first thing. Second thing, some may not have the internet connectivity and all of these other factors. Some may have tried to log on and, as we said, may have forgotten their password and have to get that reset. So it'll only be after a couple of days that we understand exactly who may be having what kind of challenge. And then once we assist those who we can assist, then we will have the real number of those who just absolutely cannot access it because they don't have either a device or connectivity and such.
Thank you, Director. We are with Mr. Lightbourne from the Blaze FM. And again, Mr. Lightbourne has 2 questions in each round. One will be from Ms. Simonet at JCN, and one is for the Blaze FM Exuma. Mr. Lightbourne?
Good morning again. Thank you so much. So this would be my second question for the Blaze 98.3 FM in Exuma. So for the more hands-on subjects, can we speak to any key strategies that may have recently been implemented or are in the pipelines to aid student performance going forward?
Ms. Poitier will answer this question for you.
Thank you again for your question. We are working with a number of our partners, both regional and local, to provide teachers with the strategies that they would require for this virtual, certainly the virtual modality that we are using. There are a number of partners who have shared the online platforms that we are engaging in. And so you would find that there will be a number of changes. Certainly in our technical areas, we are expanding our magnet programs, and they are utilizing a number of online strategies as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poitier. Mr. Lightbourne, your second question for Ms. Simonet at JCN, please.
Thank you so much. And Tyler Simonet writes, Minister Lloyd mentioned earlier this month that school repairs would be complete and ready for the August 30th reopening of schools. Are there any updates on those repairs?
Mr. Lloyd?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lightburn. On behalf of Ms. Those repairs are ongoing. I'm here to say there are a number of schools that still need to have some repairs work done, but they, at the moment, they're continuing, particularly on the island of New Providence. The family islands also have their work continuing as we speak at this time.
Thank you, Minister Lloyd. Our next question will be from the Tribune. Ms. Roll.
Hi, good morning again. I'm not sure if it was mentioned earlier, but I wanted officials to detail which subjects, if there were any, where we would have seen a decline in performance compared to last year or previous years.
I'm going to direct this question to Ms. Sawyer. Ma'am.
Good morning again, and thank you for your question. Just trying to find the information for you. But we had a number of subjects where we had improvements this year. Taking me a few minutes to, a minute or so to find it. Okay. We had improvements at the BGCSE in 20 subjects. Art and Design A, Art and Design B, Art and Design C, Auto Mechanics, Bookkeeping and Accounts, Carpentry and Joinery, Chemistry, Clothing Construction, Commerce, English Language, Food and Nutrition, Geography, Graphical Communication, History, Office Procedures, Literature, Mathematics, Music, Physics, and Religious Studies. That is at the BGCSE level. That was out of 27, 20 out of 27 subjects where we had increases in 2021. And at the BJC level, we also had increases in the BJC. Subjects, 7 out of 13 subjects improved. Technical drawing, French, English language, art, craft study, religious studies, and social studies. And so I'm sure you will agree with me that our students did extremely well, given the fact that we had improvements in so many subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Ms. Brown from Eyewitness News. Your second question, please.
Good morning still. My question has been asked and answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Walking from Our News. Your question, sir. Mr. Walking? Okay. Maybe he's not there. Maybe we can go back to him. But Ms. Adley, Mrs. Adley from ZNS. Are you there?
Yes, good morning again.
Good morning.
My second question has to do with the issue of capacity. One of the officials noted a 50% capacity for private schools who are granted their request to hold in-person learning. I know that there are no requirements for vaccination. Is that something that is at least an early discussion, especially considering the fact that there are such requirements elsewhere when it comes to capacity and a vaccination requirement?
The Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Umbrister, will address your question.
Good morning again, and thank you for your question. I will just say very generally that the government has made it very clear that vaccinations are not mandatory, and certainly vaccinations is not on the schedule of COVID vaccinations are not on the schedule of Ministry of Health required vaccinations. However, the Ministry of Health has emphasized over and over and emphatically, and as the government has generally, that they want persons to become vaccinated, including those students who qualify for vaccinations. Thank you.
So is Mr. Walking back with us? Not at this time. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, that concludes questions from the press. I would like at this time to say thank you to the media for your participation, and thank you to our viewers for tuning in. You know, as we start the 2021-2022 academic year, let us remember to hold fast to our mantra, safety first, education always. That brings us to the close of today's press conference. I am Denise Pratt. Thank you for watching, and good morning. The proceeding was the Ministry of Education's press conference on the 2021 National Examination results, a production of the Communications section of the Ministry of Education in conjunction with the Bahamas Information Services. The preceding was the Ministry of Education's press conference on the 2021 National Examination results, a production of the Communications section of the Ministry of Education in conjunction with the Bahamas Information Services.